Well, I hail from the Lone Star state of Texas, so howdy. Good, you guys have been the best crowd on the first try. Good. I'll probably leave here saying like good day or something. And then I'll be the weirdo in Texas. So it's good to be here and good to be in Australia. It's my first time here. And I did bring my husband and my daughter, but they are not here. They're sleeping at the hotel. So lucky them. And but no, I'm glad to be here with you guys. I wanted to ask you guys a question. Any of you ever been to the hospital before? You know, like emergency room, maybe, I don't know, for you or a kid, or, you know, kids are always getting sick and you gotta take them to the emergency room or some, you know, something like that, right? Most of us have been at some point in time. Okay, I have been. Any point in time on the way to the emergency room, for whatever reason, you thought, I don't know why we're going to the emergency room. Why don't we just stop at the abortion clinic? Because they can help us. Anybody? Anybody actually do that? Just, I mean, they can help us with our broken arm, right? That's what the abortion clinics do, right? No? Well, that's weird. Because just a few weeks ago, Planned Parenthood, Federation of America, and IPPF, International Planned Parenthood Federation, which is also here in Australia and all across the world, they put out this release that said, you know, if we don't internationally continue to fund IPPF and PPFA, if we don't continue to make elective abortion on demand accessible all throughout all nations, then our emergency rooms are going to be overfilled with people. That if we don't continue to see people, if we don't continue to keep these centers open for preventative care, because that's what they're about, right? Preventing abortion. If we don't continue to really fund these centers, then our emergency rooms are just going to be busting at the seams. But I've never been to the emergency room. I've never been to Planned Parenthood or an abortion clinic when I need to go to the emergency room. Have you? And so that was confusing to me. So I thought, since I had never experienced that, maybe all of you had, and maybe I was missing out on something. But that's not the case. Well, I would like to say that that is just, you know, something that's so ridiculous and nobody in their right mind would buy something like that. But that would not be true, would it? People do buy it. And they buy those ridiculous talking points. People in the United States have bought into them so much that we are funding Planned Parenthood Federation of America $363 million of our tax money every year. You know, we just can't have our emergency rooms overrun. It seems silly, but it's just the way that Planned Parenthood has infiltrated every part of our lives. And I'm sorry to say that for 8 years of my life, I was part of that nonsense. I was part of spreading those lies. And not just that, I was part of creating those silly and absurd talking points. And you know, people say God works in mysterious ways. I would like to say that God works in mischievous ways. because now I'm standing here in front of you today. I was raised in a Christian home. I was raised in a wonderful home. I have parents that have been married for 34 years and was baptized when I was 8 for the first time. I'll talk about that in a little bit. Kind of funny. And I, was in the church every time the doors were open. I was a good kid. Never broke curfew, ever. Made all A's. I was a good kid. I went to college. And my parents just always taught me the value of abstinence, right? And so they just always said that, I think that they always believed that, as long as Abby upholds this value of abstinence, then abortion will never, ever be on the table. That'll never be something that we ever have to discuss. And because I always did what my parents told me to do, it just wasn't the case. And when I went to college, I met a guy, and our relationship escalated very quickly. And when I was 20 years old, I found out I was pregnant. And that was bizarre because, good, Christian girls that use birth control, that's not supposed to happen, right? You're not supposed to get caught. But I was caught. And so I didn't know what to do. And I remember having that pregnancy test in my hand and seeing those 2 lines and just my mind being blank. What do I do? I can't go to my parents. I mean, I'm supposed to be I'm abstinent. That's what I tell them. I mean, they don't even know I have a boyfriend. And so I looked to the guy involved, and he knows exactly what to do because he has had previous girlfriends that he has taken to this abortion clinic in Houston. And so that's the option for me. That's the option for us. Now, was this his fault? No. He's not necessarily responsible for the decision I made. I went there, I made the decision, I had the abortion. It was in my hands too. I knew better. But I went, and I had my first abortion when I was 20. And I was a student at Texas A&M University. It's a small school, about 50,000 kids in Texas. And I was at school, and I ran into a woman that was at a volunteer fair. Students are good free labor. And they were trying to recruit students to volunteer at different nonprofits around town, and Planned Parenthood was there. And I didn't know anything about Planned Parenthood. I was not raised in places where Planned Parenthoods were available, were active in the community. And I was, by and large, raised in small towns. And so, there I am, and I meet this woman, and their booth catches my attention. She starts telling me about Planned Parenthood, how wonderful the organization is, how they see people for free for all this testing and exams and everything. And I think, oh, that's so sweet. That's nice. And I ask what I would do. What would I do if I was a volunteer? And she tells me that they also provide abortion services. And I told her I was raised pro-life. And she says, I understand. But what you don't see is that if abortion was not legal, then there would be thousands of women just laying all over the place, dying from illegal abortions. Well, that's scary. That's a scary thought. There's women all over the street. Just falling out everywhere from illegal abortions. And I'm thinking, what? I mean, that's crazy. I've never thought about that. And, she just says, clearly my parents just didn't explain to me. They don't have the whole picture. They don't have the big picture. But now I have the big picture. I know the real story. And so now it's my responsibility to take all of that information into my hands and do something good with it. And I should just go ahead and volunteer for Planned Parenthood. And I think I had sucker written really big across my forehead. Or you guys probably have some really cute word for that. Huh? What? Sucker will do. Oh, I thought you said sucker would. I was like, okay. I was like, that would be long on my forehead. Okay, so I took the volunteer application that day, I filled it out, and I was volunteering the next week. And that was it. I was in. I'm wearing the hot pink t-shirt, I got the bumper sticker on my car, I'm in, I'm volunteering, I'm liking what I'm doing. You know, it wasn't immediate. I mean, it took me a little while to, you know, really figure out, am I really, you know, pro-choice? Am I really, yeah, what is the rhetoric? What is the language? Am I really buying into this 100%? But, you know, it didn't take long. Maybe a couple weeks. And I was in, and after I graduated college, I got a job, a paying job with them, and I didn't really know, you know, what all these benefits, I didn't know what they were, but I figured they were good, and I should have them now that I'm a professional, and I'm not in college anymore, and they were paying me really, really well. You know, Planned Parenthood, they make over $1 billion every year. They're a nonprofit. They're a nonprofit that makes over $1 billion. Figure that out. And so, you know, they pay their employees well. You've got to pay people well to give up their morality. Most people have a price point. I certainly had one. Everybody I worked with had one. They had found it. And so I was working there. I was loving my job. I believed I was doing the right thing. I was saving women from death on the streets. Death from these illegal abortionists. Death from these back alley butchers, right? And we were preventing the need for abortions by providing contraception to the masses, contraception for 10-year-olds, contraception for 11-year-olds. Well, let's get these young girls on birth control as early as possible so that we can prevent them from getting pregnant. That's what we were doing. I believed it was the right thing to do. I believed it was the logical thing to do, the smart thing to do. And I did that for about 8 years. In 2008, don't get too excited for me. I know it's going to be exciting, but I was named the Planned Parenthood Employee of the Year. I got to have a very, this is really going to knock your socks off, I got to have a very private, intimate dinner as a reward with Hillary Clinton. Just hold it in. It was me, Hillary, and like 10 Secret Servicemen. Very intimate. And I thought I was on top of the world. I thought, this is it. This is me. I've hit my peak at Planned Parenthood. This is it. It's not going to get any better than this. This is it. I'm going to retire with Planned Parenthood. I'm going to eventually work for IPPF, International Planned Parenthood Federation. I'm going to travel the world and expand abortion services and you know, abortion to the masses, and this is going to be me forever, for the rest of my life, and I'm going to love it. And ironically, those of us that are going to retire with Planned Parenthood, you know what they call us? Lifers. I don't want to know what they call me now. Trust me. So anyway, that was me. And that was I had my lovely dinner with Hillary Clinton in April of 2009. And in August of 2009, I received a directive from my supervisor. We were going to double the abortion numbers throughout our affiliate, throughout the nation. We were going to be doubling abortion numbers because abortion was our priority, because abortion was how we were going to make money. It was that simple. If abortion was not going to be our priority, then we were not going to make it at Planned Parenthood. Abortions cost anywhere, first trimester abortions cost anywhere from $400 to about $800. The cost of an abortion, it costs an abortion clinic about $100 to perform an abortion. So they're getting about you know, anywhere from $300 to $700 cash per abortion. It's a commission-based job. Doctors get paid about $60 to $75 per abortion procedure. It's not a bad haul for a day's work. Doctor comes in, he, you know, does, you know, maybe upwards of 75 abortions a day. It's not bad money for a day's work. I met my goals at the clinic. I got a 2-week bonus, 2-week salary bonus. So it's lucrative. It's good money. So that was me. But that was troublesome to me. I didn't understand why we were doubling our abortion numbers. I didn't understand why our mission on paper to prevent abortions, to prevent the need for abortions, to provide preventative education and preventative care, why that wasn't matching with what I was being told now. I didn't get it. And when I asked questions, I was being reprimanded for it. And so about a few weeks later, a few weeks after that, I got to witness an ultrasound-guided abortion procedure, which is very uncommon. It's against protocol in most abortion clinics, particularly large abortion chains like Planned Parenthood, Marie Stopes. I should say that IPPF is very involved with Marie Stopes. It's probably, you know, aside from Planned Parenthood, that would be the next largest abortion chain internationally. And so they receive, you know, most of their directives from IPPF. So they're very involved and affiliated together. And, you know, I didn't understand when this doctor was talking to me about, this doctor that was going to show me what this ultrasound-guided abortion looked like. I didn't understand, you know, why he was doing them. He was telling me they were safer, and he started explaining it. So let me ask you a question. You guys in here, probably most of you have had some kind of surgery, you know, tonsil, appendix, you know, appendix, tooth removed, something like that. What if the doctor came in, you know, you're about to have it done, and he's coming in and he's like, you know, I was thinking, you know, I do this all the time, and I'm kind of bored with the way I do it all the time, you know, and I was thinking this time I would do it blindfolded, just on you. I just want to give it a try. What do you think? Anybody? Anybody good with that? You guys say no worries all the time. Would that make you worried? Yeah? Well, I have to tell you that in the United States, that's how, and everywhere, but in the United States, that's how abortions are performed about 4,000 times a day. The doctor might as well have on a blindfold. Because ultrasound guidance isn't used. They have an abortion instrument. They poke it around in the uterus until they think they have all the tissue out, and then someone in the lab inspects the tissue and makes sure that all of the limbs are there, the arms and legs. They inspect to make sure the calvarium, the head, is there. They inspect to make sure the internal organs are there. And as long as it's there, then the woman can leave. If it's not, they have to go in there again and do another pass. What happens if that doctor doesn't feel the tension at just the right amount of time? What if you have a plastic garbage bag and you poke something too hard through it? What happens? It rips, right? It pokes a hole through it. Well, can that happen with a woman's uterus? Yeah, you better believe it. That happens sometimes. It happens pretty often, actually. It's called uterine perforation. There's been women that have died. They've bled out, they've literally died on the abortion table from uterine perforation. Because the abortion clinics, they won't call the ambulance. That's like the scariest thing in the abortion industry, is to actually call an ambulance if it's needed. To have an ambulance come in, you know, with the siren and the lights. Oh, it's terrible PR. The worst kind of PR in the world. They would rather a woman die on the table and try to cover that up than have to you know, explain why a screeching ambulance came in their parking lot. One time we had a 16-year-old girl come in, and I guess I should tell another story. You guys are gonna get sick of this. You guys are just gonna be like, we're not coming to any more talks. We had a 16-year-old girl come in, and she was young and had never been to a doctor like this before, and was pregnant, having an abortion, surgical abortion. I'm not really sure what happened. I don't remember if the uterus was perforated, or we had just nicked it, or something happened. She was hemorrhaging, and it's probably a small tear, and she's hemorrhaging, and she's laying on the table, and we should have called the ambulance, but you know, we're not going to do that. And we just kept packing her full of gauze. And she laid there for about 2 hours on the table. Lay there on her back, full of gauze, legs in the stirrups, 2 hours. And she's 16, you know, her dad's outside in the waiting room, frantic. You know, what's going on? She should have been out here hours ago. She's laying there. We keep pushing fentanyl and Versed, keep pushing sedation so that she won't ask too many questions. You know, we don't want him to know what's going on. We don't want her to remember what's going on. I mean, that's the reality of the abortion industry. It's not good care. They don't care about the women. We didn't give her a discount. We didn't give her her money back. We kept every dime of her money, and we sent her out with a possible very serious problem. We didn't care. We never saw her again. So when this doctor that came in, and he was describing to me how this ultrasound guided abortion worked and why it was safer for the patient, I immediately wondered why we don't do them all the time. So I asked my supervisor why we don't do them all the time, and she told me, you know, well, it takes an extra 5 minutes of time. About an extra 5 minutes to use the ultrasound. And you know, we're trying to do, at our clinic, we try to do anywhere from 25 to 40 abortions a day. And, you know, we don't have the extra time. Time is money. We might miss out on, you know, one abortion if we spend an extra 5 minutes, 1 or 2 abortions, and that's an extra, you know, $400 cash. Time is money. But the doctor had told me that if the opportunity presented itself, he would show me what it looked like. And I mean, I have to be honest, I was pretty excited about the opportunity, because I was promised that I was eventually, in the next 5 years, going to be the COO of this affiliate, 4th largest affiliate in the United States. And so I thought I need to be able to experience, to see what all these different abortion procedures look like. And I went in the room, I was called in. My job was to hold the ultrasound probe on the woman's abdomen during the abortion procedure. And I just want to say, I'm not an ultrasound technician, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a nurse, I'm a licensed therapist. I have a master's degree in counseling psychology, so I could talk in a very nice manner to the ultrasound probe. If it was having a bad day, I'm the gal to talk to. But I am in no way certified to perform any kind of ultrasound, any kind of medical procedure. That does not matter. in the abortion industry anywhere. As long as you're a warm body and you're willing, that's fine. You have a high school degree, that's fine. You don't, that's fine. You just have to be willing. You have to be willing and able, and you can perform these medical procedures that really should be performed by people that are certified. And so there I was, I'm performing this ultrasound. I'd done them before, and we do the measurement and we find out the woman's 13 weeks pregnant. At 13 weeks pregnant, does a fetus have arms and legs? Yes or no? Yes. Fingers and toes? Heartbeat? Brain activity? Internal organs developed? Yes. You're like, I don't know. Yes. Eyes and ears? Yes. Can the baby hear its mother's voice? Yes. In fact, everything is completely developed at this point. Everything is completely developed. At this point, the baby is just growing and getting stronger so that the baby can live outside the womb and be viable. That's it. Everything is completely formed. The baby at this point is about this big outside of the womb, and we can even tell if it's a boy or girl. Everything's there. And so I was watching this ultrasound, and I had seen thousands and thousands of ultrasounds with my own pregnancies. I've been pregnant 3 times. I've had 2 abortions. I have 1 daughter who's 4 now. I would love to tell you that I struggled at some point in time working there with my own 2 abortions. I would like to tell you that when I was pregnant with my own daughter, I had some kind of light bulb epiphany moment where I said, oh my gosh, what am I doing? I'm carrying this baby, and now look at what I'm doing to these babies. That did not happen, ever. It was very simple for me. I was very simple-minded. I simply said, I've been pregnant 3 times. I've made 3 choices. 2 times to abort, 1 time to parent. It was very easy for me. No regrets about my abortions, no qualms about it. That's just the way it was. Very simple. But that day, I was standing there, and I'm looking at this ultrasound, and I kind of had this flashback moment to the ultrasound that we had with Grace, my daughter, when I was 12 weeks pregnant with her. And it was exciting. It was an exciting ultrasound because it was the first ultrasound we had where she didn't look like a bean, She actually looked like a kid. She looked like a person. And we were thrilled. We were so excited. My husband and I, we got 100 copies of the ultrasound picture, real face. And, we gave it to everybody we knew and strangers on the street. And, oh, isn't she beautiful? She looks just like me. And, we were thrilled, right? This is our kid. This is our baby. And then I realized I'm looking up at this screen. I'm looking at this 13-week-old child in the womb. And I'm thinking, oh, my gosh, this baby is a week more developed than Grace was at that time. We were thrilled. We thought we were parents. We were parents. This was our baby. But yet this isn't a baby. What if this were Grace? What if I had lost Grace? At that time, at 12 weeks, I would have been devastated. What am I about to watch? What's about to happen? But very quickly, I saw the abortion instrument, the cannula. It's hooked up to a suction machine. I saw that go into the woman's uterus, and I, snapped back, and I thought, oh, Abby, stop being so emotional. You're fine. You've done this thousands of times. Get over it. You're fine. And so I saw that cannula go into the woman's uterus. I saw that instrument go right up to the side of the child. Nothing happened. And I thought, of course nothing happened, right? Because the baby doesn't feel anything. The fetus doesn't feel anything at 13 weeks. That's what Planned Parenthood has told me. That's what the abortion industry says. And they don't lie, right? They wouldn't lie to me. They wouldn't lie to their star director, their employee of the year. They wouldn't lie to me. And so I was remembering the scripted answer that I was given by Planned Parenthood, the scripted answer to the question, will my baby feel this? That's probably the most common question we got from women who came in to have an abortion. You know, they wanted to know, will my baby feel this? Not will this massive tissue feel it, not will this blob of cells feel it, because they knew there was something different. They knew it was a baby. They knew there was something living inside of their womb. They knew there was humanity there. If you ever went and got a mole removed off your back or your arm or something, you're not going to be like, now listen, doctor, how's this mole going to take it? Right? Because who cares? It's a mole. There's no humanity about a mole. It's not a mole we're talking about. Something very different. These women knew it. They wanted to know. It mattered. Will my baby feel this? The answer Planned Parenthood gave them was no. The fetus has no sensory development until 28 weeks. And so I believed it. I had given that scripted answer to thousands of women that had asked me that question. I was replaying that question, that scripted answer over and over again in my mind. I'm looking at the screen, all of a sudden I see this child jump. And I see this child begin to flail its arms and legs and move away from that abortion probe. And I see it trying to flee. And I see it trying to struggle and run somewhere else, somewhere away from that abortion instrument. But there's just no place for him to go. And he moves as far away as he can from the probe. He's backed up to the other side of his mother's uterus, and he moves as far as he can, and the doctor has to reposition the cannula. And he does, and he repositions it right up against his side, and the doctor asks the technician to turn on the suction machine, and he says, "Beam me up, Scotty." And the technician turned on the suction, and in just a few seconds, the scene was very graphic, and that doesn't really matter, but the abortion was over. That was it. The screen was black. The woman's womb was empty. Life was gone. And I stood there in total shock. How had I believed this lie for 8 years? How had we all in this clinic believed a lie for 8 years? How had 33% of our population believed a lie? How had we bought into it? How had 33% of our women, 1 in 3 women in the United States are having abortions? 50% of people state that they are pro-choice. How is this happening? You know, here in Australia, 100,000 women in your country got abortions with your tax money. Last year, I believe. Just last year. How are they believing that? Because they're being lied to. They're not hearing the truth. And it's just like I said earlier, the abortion lie, the rhetoric has seeped into every part of our lives. It's seeped into our churches. It has really seeped into our churches. It has seeped into our schools. It's seeped into our families, into our innermost circle of friends. Everywhere we go. I don't know how many of you are church-going people, but if you are, I wonder how many of you hear frequently about abortion in your church. It is the same. It's the same in the United States. It's not talked about that often. I went to church my whole life. I never heard about abortion. I don't know if you know who Dr. Bernard Nathanson is. If you don't, Dr. Bernard Nathanson was he was the co-founder of NARAL, National Abortion Rights Action League, and it's no longer called that anymore, but it's that's what it was called when it was founded, and it's the largest abortion rights activism league in the United States, and it's still going. It was founded by him and another man. He was an abortionist for many years. He oversaw over 75,000 abortions. While he was an abortionist, he actually aborted his own child. He was a very famous abortion doctor, and he had a conversion on the issue of abortion. And he was, for many years, a pro-life atheist, and eventually became a pro-life Christian, and eventually entered the Catholic Church. And he just died this February. He was an amazing man, had an amazing story. He came out with the documentary The Silent Scream in 1984, which was incredibly groundbreaking. It showed a child in the womb during a live abortion, and you could see the child's mouth screaming. You could see the child's mouth opening, and it looked like a scream. And you could see the child's mouth opening while the abortion was taking place. And that film, because ultrasounds were not used very often in the early 80s in particular, that film, that documentary, was the reason that hundreds and hundreds of abortion doctors actually left the abortion industry and had conversions on their own. He was an amazing person, amazing man. And one of the things that he said after he had left was, he said, after he left the abortion industry, he said, you know, when we started NARAL, we knew that if we could get the Christian churches on board with the idea of abortion, if we could keep them silent, then abortion would be a hit. We knew that it would take over worldwide. We knew that it would just spread like wildfire if we could just keep the churches quiet. Were they right or what? They were so right. Our churches have been silent. I mean, for the most part. In the United States, 72% of women who obtain abortions are church-going Christians. And I honestly thought it would be higher. We had a joke in the clinic. We used to say, you know, all these, you know, pro-lifers are pro-life except in cases of rape, incest, and me. You know, I think that sometimes we wait. I think as Christians we wait for our clergy to tell us what to do. We wait to hear the message from the pulpit. We wait to hear the message from our clergy. We wait for our clergy to lead us into battle. While we're sitting and waiting, babies are dying every day. I don't know about you, but I don't need someone to tell me to get active in this movement. I don't need my priest or my pastor or whoever to tell me that the sanctity of human life is an issue that God cares about. I know it's an issue that God cares about it because I can read it in the scripture. It's plain as day. I don't need somebody to tell me the pro-life movement is important. I know it in my heart. I know it deep down in my soul. That's what moves me to action. I tell people this is not a movement, this is the movement. I don't know how you feel about all these other issues. I don't know how you feel about immigration, or I don't know what the big issues are here in Australia. I know there's some kind of cattle thing going on right now. I don't know what the issues are. I could go on and on about that, but I don't know what the issues are. I don't know if it's taxes or immigration, or I don't know what it is. Let me tell you something. All of those things are a very far, far second to the right to life. I mean, you realize you don't even have a basic right to life in this country. I mean, you don't have a right to live, so therefore, some of the people who could be born in this country, they won't even have the ability to pay taxes. I mean, they don't even have a chance. They don't even have a chance to be born. Who cares about taxes? When just last year, your taxes paid for 100,000 kids to be killed. I mean, come on. This is not a issue. This is the issue. This is not a issue for the church to tackle. This is the issue for the church to tackle. And I'm telling you right now, don't wait on someone else to tell you when the time is right. The time is right now. It's right now. You know it, you feel it because you're here. If you didn't know it, if you didn't feel that, you wouldn't even be sitting here today. You know you want to do something about it. You're here tonight. So let's do something about it. This isn't being pro-life. This isn't your pro-life activity for the year. As we say in Texas, this ain't it. I don't say that. I never use that word. This is not being pro-life. This is not your pro-life activity for the year. You know what? It doesn't even matter that we're pro-life and we're sitting here in this room together right now. It doesn't matter that you can look at each other and you can pat each other on the back and you can say, oh, good job being pro-life. Who cares? It doesn't matter that we can share battle stories about, yes, I got arrested 15 years ago for being blockading a door, or yes, I got arrested whenever, or yes, I have saved this many babies, or yes, I have done this, or yes, I have done that. It doesn't even matter because we're all pro-life in this room. That doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how pro-life you are in here. It matters how pro-life you are out there. I don't need my mind to be changed. I know life is valuable. I know life is precious. I know it's important to be pro-life. So do you. There's a heck of a lot of people out there that don't know that. That's when it matters. That's where it matters. That's why it's important. You know, when I saw that ultrasound, I could have gone back in my office. I could have used some kind of justification. I was very good at justifying things. I was very good at rationalizing things I saw and things I heard and things I believed. I could have done that. I could have gone back in there. I could have said, oh, you know, I don't know, that was bad. Abortion's ugly. It's gross. I mean, yeah, okay, that was bad. And but you know what, I'm getting paid really good, and maybe I can ask for a raise, maybe I can ask to meet this really cool famous person, and it's going to be fine. No big deal, I'll get over it. It's not going to be a big deal. It's going to be fine. And I could have, gone a week, and I could have been okay, and I could have been fine with it, and I could have taken that information I had, and I could have just stuffed it down, and I could have continued my work with Planned Parenthood, and by now I probably would have had an even better position. I probably would be making even more money. I'd probably be driving an even nicer car, and I'd be doing all of these wonderful things. I'd have a wonderfully prestigious position within Planned Parenthood, and I'd be doing all of these great things. But when I saw the truth in front of my face, when I saw what was really happening in front of my face, I couldn't let that truth be sitting in front of me and not take it out into the public, not take it out to everybody else that I saw, and let them know what the truth really was. You have the truth. You have the knowledge that needs to be shared with everybody else. That fire that you feel for the unborn needs to be taken and shared with everybody else. I believe wholeheartedly that there is somebody out there in the public that is waiting to hear the message of life from every single one of you. Probably more than one. Somebody's waiting. They're waiting to hear the truth. They're waiting for us to go out there and be unabashedly pro-life everywhere we go. There's always a time to bring up the value of life. And if there's not, just bring it up anyway. I mean, you can bring it up all the time. I bring it up all the time, People are like, oh, you like football? Yeah, you know what else I like? I like being pro-life, Oh, did you see the game last night? Yeah, you know what else I saw? I saw these women going in to have an abortion, and I was sidewalk counseling them, I mean, you can always bring it up. It's weird, it's awkward, but I always bring it up. Because it affects so many people. Every single one of us has been affected by abortion in some way, and you may not even know it. You may not even know how. But we've all been affected in some way. The time is right now. I wonder how many of you, when you were a kid, you went to youth camp? Like summer camp or something, for kids? Like church camp? And you went and every summer you get baptized, you get rebaptized, you get resaved. Right? Have an altar call and everybody come down and you're like, oh, you get resaved, right? I went every year, I've been baptized 10 times. One baptism or 10, okay? And that was me, and you'd go to church camp and you'd feel really excited, right? And you'd be like, yeah, I love God, and you'd be arm in arm with God, right? You leave church camp and you're so excited and you're like, I'm never gonna sin again, right? And I'm gonna be a missionary and I'm gonna turn all my friends against sin and we're all gonna be missionaries in Africa, right? And you're I'm denouncing sin and holy. I'm gonna be holy for the rest of my life, right? And that's how you felt. And you felt really, really on fire, and you're really, really excited about being just one with God all the time, 24 hours a day. I'm going to read my Bible 23 to 24 hours a day, and you're really, really feeling good about it, right? And you go home and you go back to your real friends, right? And then, a week goes by, and you're kind of like, okay, well, that was good, but now it's me and God are one arm, right? I mean, we're cool, but maybe I'll read my Bible 30 minutes a day, once a week. And you're not really feeling it, the fire's kind of going out, and then 2 weeks go by, and you're really not feeling it at all, the fire's pretty much gone, and your friends are like, where were you a couple weeks ago? And you're like, I don't know, football camp. It's gone, right? The fire's gone. You're like, yeah, football camp, and pass me a beer, right? And you're just totally out of it. You're not feeling it, right? God is out of your life. The fire's gone. The excitement's gone. That's it. Sometimes that happens in the pro-life movement. We leave things like this and we leave conventions or whatever, and we go out and we're so excited, and we're like, I'm going to save the world. We're going to end abortion. We're going to adopt every kid in the foster care system. We're going to, save every baby, and I'm going to commit 20 hours to going praying outside of Planned Parenthood, or, whatever, Marie Stopes, and we get so excited, right? And then we go out and life takes over. And then those commitments, they go away, and all of a sudden, we're not going at all to the clinics, and we're not doing anything that we said we were going to do, and we're not committing to doing the things that we said we were going to, and I'm telling you tonight, every time one of those fires goes out in each one of us, it's a missed opportunity to save a life. It's a missed opportunity to talk to a woman who has been hurt emotionally, physically, who has been injured by an abortion. It's a missed opportunity to provide healing or some kind of hope to a family who has been injured by abortion. We cannot afford to let our fires go out. Not now. There are too many lives that are depending on it. I don't know if you've ever been to a clinic. I don't know if you've ever prayed outside of a clinic. I don't know if you've ever had the joy, the experience. I don't know if God's ever given you this experience where you've actually been a person to have a save, where you are the person God uses you to talk to a woman, to talk to her and convince her that abortion's not right for her. She's scheduled for an abortion appointment. She's going in to have her abortion, but you talk to her and you sidewalk counsel her, and she ends up choosing life for her baby that day that was scheduled to die. I don't know if you've ever had the privilege of being that person, but I have, and then later I've had the privilege of then holding that baby that was saved, that was saved from abortion. I don't know if there's anything cooler than that. I mean, it was an amazing experience to hold my own daughter when she was born, but it was really cool to hold that baby that was saved from abortion, because my daughter wasn't ever scheduled to die. And that baby was just moments away from death. And God stepped in. He did it in the most awesome way. And he's just waiting to use all of us in that way. He's waiting to use you in that way too. You just got to say yes. And you better hang on to your britches. Can I say that? No. If I say something cute like knickers or something. You better hang on to your pants when you say yes, because if you give God your yes, he's going to use you. Big time. He wants us to stay in this fight. He wants to use you in this battle. He wants you to save these children. They're his kids. And he's created every single one of them for a very specific purpose. It's up to us to go out and speak the truth and do the right thing. And that's why you're here. So I encourage you, I challenge you to go out today and just do the right thing. Thank you for having me today. Thank you for having me in Australia. And I am going to be around if there's time to answer some questions.